In this video, we are going to move our obstacles. So instead of moving the whole camera from left to right, we are going to move obstacles from right to left. Why is it simpler to move obstacles than to move the whole camera? If we move the whole camera, we have to move background, ground, and also our Skippy, or our main character. But if we move obstacles from the right side to left side, then everything can stay on the same place. We don't need to move background, we don't have to move ground, and we can leave character at the same place. Character just moves up and down. So in order to achieve animation of moving flower from the right side to left side, we need speed. So first we are going to create update method in flower class that will get called every frame. So moving flower is nothing else than changing the X position of flower. Public void update, float delta is parameter. Let's create float X speed, will be max speed. That will be constant that we will create, multiplied by delta. And now we just need to set the X position. So we are going to call set X, X minus X speed. So we are moving from the right side to left. Since our 0, 0 is at bottom left and X-axis is pointing to right, we are moving to negative. So that is why we need minus X speed. Or we can use plus and have negative speed. It is the same. So first let's create that constant, max speed. Private static final float max speed is 8 final, and now we need to call that update method every frame inside our game screen. It is the same what we did with Skippy, but first let's go to game screen and make Skippy a bit bigger. Currently it is too small. So in game config, instead of 2 world units, Skippy will be 3 world units. In game screen, we have update method that updates our game object and the whole game world. In that method, we are checking or updating our main character, checking if there is any touch or any mouse press. This is just touched. And then we are flying up with our character. And after that we are checking that character doesn't go off screen. So now we are just going to call flower.update delta. And instead of putting flower to 0, 0, we are going to set flower.setX at gameconfig world width. So it is on the right side. Let's run our game and see that there is flower moving from right to left. Now you will notice that flower is actually moving, but instead of having one flower, we need more flowers. So we need every frame, we need to basically generate or create another flower. So let's see how to do that. So in order to have more flowers, we are going to use array. Instead of creating one flower, we are going to create array. So array of flowers, and call it flowers is new array flower. And now instead of creating one flower and positioning that flower inside show method, we are going to create another method, create new flower. That method can be private. Let's go down and create that method. So private void create new flower. Flower is new flower. Flower set X game config world width, but minus flower width. So since we don't have flower width, we are going to create that constant flower.width This is just the full width of flower. And we need to add flower to our array. So flowers add flower. Now when we are updating our game world, we have more than one flower. So we are going to loop through all the flowers in array for flower in flowers. And just call update method on each of our flowers. So flowers flower.update and pass in our delta. But now we need to create another method which is called spawn flower. So private void spawn flower. That method will create flowers every time when there is need for new flower. So first we are going to check if flowers size. So if we don't have any flowers, then we are going to create a new one. So if flower size equals 0, then we are just going to call create new flower. But if there are any flowers, we are going to check or pick at last element in our array and check if that element has enough space. So if that element traveled, if our flower traveled, let's say 3 meters, then we can create another flower. So in order to get the last flower, we can use method from array. So flower last flower is flowers dot pick. That will give us the last flower that we added to our array. So if last flower get x, we are going to create that getter, is less than game config world width minus game config gap between flowers. So we are going to create constant that is the gap that we want between two flowers. If that is true, then we are going to create new flower. So let's start from beginning. We need to fix this draw debug method, and we need to add some methods and constants to our classes. So first let's go to game config, and there we are going to add that gap between two flowers. So public static final float gap between flowers is going to be 8 world units. So this is also in world units. Now for our flower, we can create constant for the width of the actual flower. So what is the width of flower? It is double the circle radius. So that is the size. So let's create that public static final float width is collision circle radius multiplied by 2. So that is the full radius and the full width of our flower. Now we need in flower method get x, which we can easily generate. So just type get x and press enter. It will automatically generate getter for us. And other compilation errors that we have is for drawing our flowers. So we need to loop through our array and draw all flowers that we have. So first, let's loop through our array and draw one by one flower. For flower in flowers array, we are going to get circle and rectangle and just draw all that. So we can just move this bracket below and draw all flowers that we have in our array. But now we have one little problem. When flower moves off screen, we need to destroy or remove that flower from our game, so that we don't create or we don't have flowers that are off screen, because that could affect our performance. And we need to spawn flower every frame or check if we can spawn flower. So in our update method. After we update all the flowers, we are going to call spawn flower, that will be called every frame, and remove past flowers. If we don't remove objects that are not needed in our game, there is high possibility that there will be memory leak. There is one other part that I want to mention. It is better to pull and use object pulling for flowers, but I'm not going to use it in this game because it is really simple game. Most important is to remove flowers that are off screen. So let's see how to remove those flowers. First, let's create that private method, private void remove past flowers. First, we are going to check if there are any flowers. So if flowers.size is bigger than 0. If we have one flower, and let's imagine that flower is the first flower that we created, and it is moving from the right side to left. So let's get the first flower. First flower is flowers first. So array has method first, which gives us the first flower. So we need to check if the first flower x position is less than minus flower.width. This is the short form of 0 minus flower width, so we don't have to put 0 in front. So if our flower goes off screen with full width, we can remove that flower, because we don't have to draw that flower that is off screen, and player won't be able to see that flower. So we can just remove it from array and destroy it. So flowers remove value, first flower, and last parameter is true. So now when flower goes off screen, we are removing that flower from game and we won't be able to see that flower anymore. This saves a lot of memory. If we let those flowers to be in game, there is high possibility to get memory leak. Now you can see how flowers get spawned and they are moving from left to right. After flower is out of screen, it is removed. So let's prove that flower is actually removed. First, what we are going to do is change our camera. We will zoom out the camera. So camera.zoom is 0.80, let's say. And we need to call camera update to update our camera after we change some properties. Now, if we run our game, we will see that flowers actually disappear. Well, now we zoomed in, so if the zoom is less than 1, we are going in and we are zooming in. To zoom out, it needs to be bigger than 1. So let's say 130. Now let's run the game again and see that flowers actually get removed. Now you will notice how they are spawning. When they reach around here, they are removed. You can see that they immediately disappear. The gap between flowers is pretty small, and we are going to fix that gap later.